Okay. I'm going ahead and recording this as I hope to be heading home rather shortly. um, the college counseling and so forth. I got down here, but it was kind of iffy, and I'm a little worried. I'm trying to plan it between like when rush hour is out there, when everybody's out on the road, and so forth. So I figure if I head home after this video, then um, I'm safe as I'm gonna be. So anyway, I want to go ahead and create this. Some of the stuff you could read in the book and kind of comprehend, but objects are a little bit different. So I was gonna come up with an example. Okay, I'm gonna come to source packages here, right click, or maybe right click there, new JFrame form, and I'll just go ahead and just click finish here. That creates my windows. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to right click and choose new, and I'm going to choose Java class. And I'll call this a my point. Um, you'll find that Java, if you read the book, we've been going out of Think Java, has a point already built in. So I want to develop my own. Click finish. Now, when this comes up, we want to and let's see. I'm trying to find the book where this refers to it, so you kind of get an idea. Um, looking for. There we go. Now on page 172 out of the Think Java, you'll see where they define a class, and that's what I'm doing. This is specifically in page 172 and the very near the bottom. They define a public class time, and I'm going to create some private integer, and I'm going to say integer though uh, decimals is possible, um, but referred to as x and private integer y. Okay, these are going to create our instance variables. Now we can have a constructor, and this is on page 173, and say public and my point, beginning brace, closing brace, and I'm going to say this. Now this is their example is without parameters. And I think they might have one with parameters, maybe, yeah, on page 174 at the bottom. And that's really what I want instead. So I'm going to say int param x and int param y. And this dot x is equal to param x. This dot y is equal to param y. Now, if you're wondering what in the world's a constructor, if I go over to my Windows here, and my eventual goal is I want to create a class for a line, and a line has a slope and has a y-intercept. So I'm going to have some text fields on here where I'll bring in 2 points. Interest time, I won't spend much time printing that up or anything. Put a button on here, and then well, I'll start there. So this is my first point. So I'm going to give this one a name. See, edit text. text, text, and text. Okay. And give these names like I haven't got around to yet. TF.1x. TF. And sorry, had to pause the video for a minute. My wife called and told me how horrible the roads are. So that made me feel real comfortable. Okay, I'm renaming these now. Okay, and I'll go ahead and click this one, choose events, mouse clicked. Okay, now I'm going to define, I think I called it my point, P1 and P2. Since I declared this class over here called my point, I can declare them in this manner. And then I could say P1 is equal to new my point 3, 5. P2 is equal to new my point 4, 1. Now, what this does when you declare those, it creates new instances of those. And the book does a pretty good job of explaining this. Plus, our next textbook we're looking at, first chapter has excellent information on working with points. So, besides the project I'll give you, I just want you to go out there and read those 2 chapters. And chapter 11 out of Think Java, and then the first chapter out of the OCA book. Now this will call this constructor here, passing in these parameters, and then it'll set these values here. Now we always want to put gets and sets in these, and that allows us to retrieve and set, depending upon if you're doing a get or set. This is on page 176 out of Think Java. Well, I guess not. Page 177 is better one to look at. So I'm going to have my get public int get x. The get retrieves the value. So all we do simply is return this dot x. Public int get y. And we're going to return this dot y here. Now all that's going to do is retrieve y. Now we need sets. Sets actually sets the value. So I'll say public void, because we're not going to actually return anything. We're just bringing something in and setting the value of those x and y. Set x int param x, and then I'll have this dot x is equal to param x, public void set y int param y, and this dot y is equal to param underscore y. Okay, so we can do the constructor where we set these values, but if we want to set them outside of this, then now I can do a P1 dot, and you'll see that you have set x And I could change the x value to 7. So now my point would be 7, 5. I could do a P1 dot set y, and that would change the y value. So now my first point, instead of being 3, 5, would be 7, 2. Now we're going to see the gets here shortly, but that's our basics of creating a class, declaring it, creating instances, calling a constructor is part of creating an instance, and then calling methods within that class. Okay. Now I said what I really want to work with is a line though. So I'm gonna come here, right click, choose new Java class, and I'll call this equation of the line. Was kind of wordy. It's called line. Then I click finish. Now again over here, I'm going to create some instance variables, class attributes, whatever you want to call them. Private int slope. Let me make that a double. And private double y-intercept. Now we need our, just like what we had with our point here, we need our constructor. Now the public or how constructors always go is they're public. Public allows you to access them outside of that particular class. And then this name here has to match the name of the class. So over here, public, and then line, and I'm gonna pass in int param slope and int param y-intercept. And then I'm gonna set this dot slope equals to param slope. This dot y-intercept is equal to param y-intercept. Got something wrong. Oh, what did I forget? Public. No, you can set everything wrong. Now we need our gets and sets. Technically, you don't have to have gets and sets, but so public. Now, by the way, these over here were called get x, get y to match the naming. So here, public double get slope. You can actually call them whatever you want. They don't even have to have the word get in them, but that's common practice to do that. And return this dot slope. The data type here should match the data type up here. Remember over here we had int. We had int here because these were int. And public double get y-intercept. And return this dot y-intercept. Let's try to see if they had this in here. Some IDEs have a generate, where it'll generate the gets and sets for you. I don't see any unless it's insert code. Insert code. Interesting. They have a setter but not a getter. If you choose setter, you choose which one. And since I have my gets here, I'll go ahead and choose those and then generate. And it comes up with that. I'm not sure why the gets aren't there, unless it's smart enough to recognize that I already have them. I bet it was. See how they're gone now? So anyway, you can type them in. I like to type them in, but that is in some packages, not all packages. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing in my 2 points, and I want to set them equal to the value of those text boxes. What happened there? Okay, so this I need to int p1x, p1y, p2x, p2y, and p1x is equal to integer dot parse int, and we bring in tf underscore point 1x dot get text. I don't know if I need a 2-string there or not. We'll see. And p1y is equal to integer dot parse int tf underscore point 1 underscore y dot get text. p2x is equal to integer dot parse int tf underscore point 2 underscore x dot get text. p2y is equal to integer dot parse int tf underscore point 2 underscore y dot get text. Okay, so now instead of hard coding these, I can put p1x there, p1y here. p1 is for 0.1, p2 is for 0.2, so 0.2x, 0.2y. Get rid of these. Figure out why I got a squiggly there. tf underscore. Because I didn't have a name right. Let's try it again. Okay. So now I want to set my slope. Well, I need to have an equation line developed. So line L1, create a new instance of it. L1 equals to new line 0, 0. Setting my slope for 0, my y-intercept for 0, because I want to calculate them. And different ways you can do this. Over here, I'm going to have a public void calculate slope. And I'll be passing in a point, point P1 and point P2. Didn't like that for some reason. Cannot find symbol. Oh, because it's my point. Hopes to actually name it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to be passing in the points here. And then this dot slope is going to equal to P1 dot y minus, I don't want to use that, P1 dot get y. That'll retrieve the value of y. P2 dot get y. Your formula for slope is change in y, y2 minus y1 over change in x. So P1 dot get x minus P2 dot get x. So that should calculate our slope. This next part's a little bit trickier. And by the way, to calculate slope now, back here, I'll say L1 dot calculate slope, and I'll be passing in 0.1, so P1, and oops, I'm smart enough to recognize what I need to do, and P2. Now nothing's returned because it's just setting the value of my instance variable, my class variable, attribute, whatever you want to call them. Now I need to calculate the y-intercept. A little bit harder. Not horrible. We got y-intercept is b. So I got y minus mx is equal to b. Okay. This assumes we have slope, which we just calculated, and that we have a given point. So we're going to need to pass in a point, and the slope is built into this object, so I don't need to pass it in. So I'll say public void calculate y-intercept. I'll be passing in 1 point. And so I'm going to say this dot y-intercept is equal to, no memory, y. So we're going to do P1 dot get y minus this dot slope times x. P1 dot get x. Okay. So over here, I'll say L1 dot calculate y-intercept. I need to pass in a point. P1's fine, and that should do it. Now at this point, I want to format my line and then write it out to the screen. So I need to return something. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say public string and format line. Now, I don't need to bring anything in because it should be there by default. So return y equals m should be next. So I'm going to do a plus, and m is a double, so I need to convert to a string. So I'll say this dot slope string dot value of this dot slope plus y equals mx, so x plus. Now this is going to look a little bit weird if we have a negative y-intercept, but that's okay. Then let's don't get home. String dot value of this dot y-intercept. Okay, so that's going to format it. It'll put in form y equals and plug in the value of m, x plus, and then it'll plug in the value of b. So over here, when I call it, I'm going to set my answer blank. I don't think I named it, to be honest. I don't think I put it. Let's try that again. And I'll right click on this and say change variable name, answer line. Excuse Excuse me. So answer line dot set text and L1 dot and gets. Oh, there's format line. Oh, I'm blind. Okay, so let's run this. And 3, 1, 4. Let's see, 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 4x minus 11. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so this shows something that you, if you've taken college algebra, that you will, or intermediate algebra, algebra 2, they'll have you take 2 points and they'll find the equation of the line. And that's what we just came up with, showing objects. Now, what do I want for the project? For the project, I want you to develop one for rectangle. So instead of my point, I want you to declare a rectangle. And of course, for that, you'll need length and width. And then I want you to have your constructor, your gets and sets. And then I want you to calculate perimeter and calculate area. And there's different ways you can do that. You can have separate variables up here for the perimeter and area. You could simply have a method where it calculates and returns it, and then you can then print it to the screen. Your prompts that it should ask for length and width, and then it should return perimeter and area. And again, I want to use objects. And those 2 chapters I mentioned earlier are the best ones for you to look at in terms of the design of that. Well, hope you're staying out of the weather and staying safe, but have a great day.